I got cheese because Burrow would get cheese.
I got a Maltesers bar, and I was telling Tesh, I thought it was separate bars, but it's one big thing of chocolate, so now I got to eat the whole thing. Oh no!
Something I forgot to mention. While we're traveling, Bjor, the dog, is definitely just like in a saddlebag or something.
Oh,
Yeah!
head poking out.
Yeah.
Bjor loves it. Bjor loves it when horse go fast. When like you're going downhill and you're galloping, he's a happy boy.
It's like a car ride.
saw
He's sticking
a
his
big-
head out the
It's
window.
literally the closest you're gonna
dog
get.
That was like, instead of just sticking its head out the window, it had climbed almost completely on top of the car.
Holy shit.
Like, it's half of its body was still, it was just a big ass dog. So half of its body was still in the car, and then like the rest of it was just out on top of the roof, just loving life. Yeah.
Alright. So, you guys arrive outside Thundra, the city of High Elves. You've been here before. So the way cities usually work, especially slightly more walled off ones, not every city has like set walls, you know. There's trading taverns on the outer roads, which you could, alright, this is a bed, that's kind of nice, and it's warm because you've been traveling through the autumn. Well, the start of autumn. It's not starting to get super cold, but you are in the north, so it is snowing most of the time and stuff like that. Do you go into the city? Or do you just sort of, okay, we're going to wait here for a bit and then keep going?
I'm good out here, but I know.
Yeah, it's one of those things I can imagine, even if some of you are going into the city, maybe you go around the wall and get to a south side tavern just so you're ready to go, and you're like, alright, I'm gonna order an all-day breakfast, and I'm gonna sit,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna take advantage of the gold I spent.
I'm doing two things while I'm here. One is I'm going to check in with Caldicus.
Yes.
Mostly just see how she's doing, see if anything has changed, see if she considered what I said in my letter, and very much telling her that if she is still considering what I said in my letter, don't go to Slate Cove, but to go to Lendir.
Well, is
instead.
this one of those things you actually want to have this conversation, or is it just a very quick?
It's a very
Stop
quick thing.
Okay.
But
So when you step in and see Caldicus in the suburbs,
I probably like waved at the people who gave me her house location last time.
and the thing is, because they're elves, you go into like a human city. Also, by the way, a bunch of gift subs. It's gonna get loud up in here. Human cities, things are always different. Elven cities, that same guy is. Oh, you come by at the same sort of time. He's gardening his front lawn.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, they're going to get water. That routines and schedules to high elves is just so natural, like clockwork. When you see Caldicus, she does seem like she's still on that path. She's maybe not necessarily mourning, but she is a woman obsessed with death. She still is clearly not resting properly, bags under her eyes, will excitedly show you, now that she knows that you're actually a confidant, you know, rituals, and she'll summon wisps into the room and things like that. And to Barut, who's someone who doesn't fear necromancy in its raw concept, unlike a lot of clerics, you still do know she's on a slippery path. She might have the best intentions in studying more and more necromancy. Her intent is very much to protect people she's lost. Or potentially maybe bring them back, or maybe just never lose anyone again.
I am going to show her some of the spells that I know, like Spare the Dying, and things like that she can use to be proactive.
More healing
Healing
rather
spell.
than anything else.
Yeah.
I will allow you a persuasion check to see if the afternoon you spend with her will have her change her ways, because it's not like you're being preachy about it. It's just, you know.
No, it's more just like, well, hey, this is cool that you can do this. Let me show you something that I can, or like that I've been working on. Here's my notes for it and everything. Obviously can't show her without stabbing her, and I'm not going to do that.
No, it's one of those things you have.
Ow.
Even though you're not a wizard, you have writings on your prayers.
Yeah.
You are not an arcane cleric, but you are almost a cleric via a knowledge of magic instead of other things, and the knowledge of the spiritual. So actually, you have a very big thing in common. And she listens, and she's interested. But you do end up leaving knowing that she's probably still going to be studying necromancy in secret.
I'm going to tell her to reach out to me. Every so often, let me know what she's studying, obviously in code, and that we should work on a code.
Okay.
And I can.
It's
tell
one
her
of those things like
will...
you're both book nerds. It's probably like references to these old elven like plays and things.
Yeah.
As are weaves.
There's got to
but
be
I'm
a
also-
play like that's all about bringing someone back from the dead, and like that's.
And I'm going to sending her to essentially note this code to her, saying this is the types of things that you can say, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll do that over a period of time as well. And essentially just say, and I will pass on some of my knowledge so that if you are interested in using these healing magics, we can work you towards that as well. All knowledge is good knowledge, after all, is
Awesome.
what I'll leave her with. But then I'm also going to go get cheese.
It's one of the things.
Specifically for
You're like
Bjorn.
hanging out at the tavern, and Barut comes back after like a full day with just a bunch of like a big wheel of cheese.
I want
No.
just a big wheel of elven
Parmigiano Reggiano.
There you go. Yeah.
No,
and,
that's
You could like big, like strapped to the back of the horse, big.
yeah. How much gold do you want me to spend on that, by the way?
Oh, like 20 gold, I imagine.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
quality
fine.
elven cheese,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a whole wheel
Yeah.
of it. Yeah, 20 gold.
Absolutely, for sure.
One thing I am gonna do while we're in town, since we're here, I'm gonna get some coffee.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
I don't
was
know how
hoping-
much I charged for coffee, but
2 gold for
2
a cup.
gold. Well, yeah,
Take
exactly. You
3.
can get it in the tavern for gold for that. But if you want to start roasting your own, brewing your own, oh, that's gonna be more. That's gonna be 5 gold for coffee.
Brewitt knows how. Probably. He's
Oh
probably.
yeah, can I buy coffee for the road? Like
Yeah,
a bag of coffee?
it would be I say if you get like you spend like again 20 gold, you'll have enough coffee for the rest of for some of the trip, assuming you're not drinking it every single morning.
It's not gonna be an every morning thing,
no.
but just like
A pet me
I'll
up.
buy like a
Celebrations.
pound of coffee or whatever that gets me.
It's like a cold rainy day. I'm gonna have a coffee, you know.
Mhm.
I think
Does
that's
Tobias still chug it very quickly?
Oh yeah.
He still has
I
no
would-
idea how to drink coffee.
I would join him with that. Like I would clink the cup and like we would just drink it really quickly.
it's invigorating.
Just shooting coffee.
Yeah, you're taking shots of coffee basically, which is a
Espresso
thing.
shots are a thing.
Yeah, it does work. You've invented espresso shots in Jarviskjir.
Like, oh yeah, in Thundra they have coffee. In the north we have espresso.
How much would a tea making kit be?
Ooh. Let me look for something with reference here. Because I mean, you want good shit.
Yeah, he got to have tea while they were in
Caldicus made you tea.
That's right. Yeah.
Caldicus is
That's what I
a
was-
book
that's what I
nerd
was-
and a tea nerd. And a
Yes.
necromancy nerd. But you know what? That's slightly different.
Yeah. So he's reminded of it and wants to try making it.
Necromancy and tea go hand in hand.
They
We all know
really
that.
do. Let's say 10
They
gold.
really-
Like a good
Have you ever
proper
been
tea
in
kit.
David's tea before?
Okay. Yeah.
Throw in a
there's some
couple more
people-
gold to buy some, bags of tea to actually brew it.
Yeah.
To stuff. But yeah, absolutely.
It's in my name. I
Or
will brew
14
it for
gold?
you.
I was going to say, did you say brew it or brew it?
Look, I won't allow this punnery here.
It's not my name, anyways. It's fine.
What?
What?
Fake name?
No, it is Brewitt, but it's not Brewitt. It's Brewitt. No one ever pronounces the extra U.
I sometimes do, but it was too much like mouth effort, so I just pronounce it the dirty human way.
I know. That's okay.
Mouth effort.
No, you're just saying my name in common. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like how
Yeah.
Aradia is spelt wrong on the maps.
Yeah.
Aradia is actually spelt differently, but all the maps are human made usually.
Is this like an aluminum or aluminium
Yeah.
situation?
Oh no.
Quite literally. Elves have a letter which is the A and the E, so it's the wrong way around on this because humans didn't translate it properly. And never have, and they don't care. Yeah. So, and then you're ready to keep on going down towards Aradia. It's a very fast journey. The Old King's Road, or the King's Alliance Road, depending on who you're asking, that goes between Aradia and Thundrel's like city centers, is... So the road you'd be traveling on was maintained. Someone clearly goes by and cleans it. This road is pristine. It is mosaic, mostly in a blue that matches the occasional breaks in the forest where you can see the sea off to the side. It is a brilliant sea road that has a star every couple of mile markers as well. There's a lot of traders you meet on the road, and you're going so fast most of the time that you have to keep an eye out on elves are kind of ambling their way from city to city, and other travelers as well. But it's a big road as well. It's essentially like a highway. And you get to Aradia quite quickly, though. Aradia, the city of wood elves, is much more broad than most cities. It's almost like a collection of towns spotted together. Until you get to the city center or the docks, it's not very dense at all. This city of wood elves is connected via series of canals, and the buildings seem to naturally blend in with the environment. It might even take you a little bit of time, people who are not Barut, to realize you're in the city. Because, okay, there's occasionally buildings by the side of the road. It's only when you actually notice street lamps and much more people and start riding through a market and stuff like that.
When we entered the city limits, though, Burrowit would have, like, loudly said, "Welcome to Aradia!" And it would have been probably pretty open space still, and, like, no one...
Yeah, exactly. It's like you've just gone through, like, an arch, but there's, like, nothing else. Like, a little shrines and stuff like that.
What?
Did we just hit a boulder or something?
Isn't this... I mean, this is, like, nothing compared to Thundrel. I always thought you guys were, like, you know, obnoxious.
Depends which elves you're talking about.
Walls, or... Wait, there's different...
These are wood elves. This is wood elf territory.
What does that mean?
What is the difference? Yeah.
These ones like to live in the woods.
It doesn't seem like much of a difference.
Yeah, because the high elves are also living in the woods.
We don't call us wood elves or wood humans and non-wood humans. That's ridiculous.
Well, those are high elves back there.
We don't call ourselves high humans.
No, those ones are all high and mighty, though. That's why they're called high elves.
Hmm.
It says with a grin that is clearly like he knows that's not the real reason, but he doesn't really care.
It's when you get more into Aradia, it is much more understated than Thundrel, because Thundrel was and is designed to impress, and is also designed much more defensively, whereas this seems like a much more natural environment. It does still have the sort of elven designs, and my headphones refuse to be charged, apparently. But they... a lot more wood, a lot more nature, trees, parks that are essentially just forests. There's less attempt of them trying to impress, and just a lot more of a natural environment. Although the more you get into the city center and towards the docks, which is a bit away from the city center, it is getting busier and busier, and more what you might have expected. It's just it took quite a while to get there as you go along the main road, which is flanked by two separate canals and little punts go through with passengers and things. This city, in the throes of autumn, the trees are just starting to get nice oranges and reds. It's beautiful. It's genuinely quite a sight. it's the job.
I definitely think these guys like. I can get along with. I can get down with this.
Oh, just wait. Just wait.
Why did you want to avoid this place? It's so much better than the last elven city we were just in.
Yeah.
Like, they seem to get it.
Yep.
It's one of those things where you're like having this conversation when you've been riding and it's dark and you see a tavern by the side of the road and your belly rumbles. It looks pretty, sort of a lot side beside the water with a little wall, like a beer garden. Sound of music coming from inside, yeah.
Is there any discernible name we can see from the road?
I actually don't remember the name of this tavern off the top of my head.
I'll go.
This tavern is called the Wedding's Kiss.
Okay.
We should probably go in and grab some food. I
Agreed.
do have some business I'd like to take care of in Aradia first. Not before we eat, of course, but before we leave. It'll be quick, I promise. Just checking in with something.
I thought you didn't want to go to Radio.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't want to be here, but I
Do
should.
you need help?
No. You're welcome to join me if you'd like. But
Like, puts a hand on sword. If you need
Mm.
help.
not that kind of.
Or emotional support, rather.
Oh, that I can't help with, but...
Tobias, you remember what I showed you back in the woods outside of Slate Cove? Barut would say that without any...
No, exactly. That's why it's funny.
Weird. Just...
Whatever do you mean, Bruit Benarin?
The, locket of mine.
Yes.
Her family is from here. I want to check in.
Here.
Just make sure they're doing okay. See if she's touched base.
Very well.
Not a rush, but before we go. I
Well,
want to eat.
let's get
Now
some-
food. Food.
Food.
Yeah. Jump off horse.
When you get in this tavern and it's a tavern by the road to this place for your horses. The inside of this tavern has a elvish carved display on the wood of walls of this smiling elf overseeing a wedding, and there's this flock of fairies behind him. This very beautiful display that kind of dominates the fairly open plan and casual seeming tavern. There's good music playing and people playing games, and the smell of the food immediately hits your lungs, and then your bellies ache for it. Yeah. You when you guys get in some of the elven taverns in like Fundrel, you weren't necessarily super welcome. Yeah, you were paying, but still, it's a very different kind of environment. Here, like immediately, a person who works at the bar will come in and go up close and be like, "Oh, can I take your cloak, sir? Do you need some food? It's been a cold night, but there's room here." And you
were resisting so
hard. It's a busy night, with always room for another. There we go.
Yep. Just as soon as you were like, "Oh, can I take your clothes?" I was like, "He's gonna."
I didn't even know, but it grew inside me. The innkeeper.
Is there a chair I can pull up by the hearth?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll pull up a chair by the hearth, and I'll keep my cloak and stuff with me.
It's one of those things where it'd be 2 gold for room and food for the night. So it's a pretty good quality place. The food that they will present for you is a little bit of mixture of things. There's a lot of vegetarian cuisine, stuff that you can go through like forage mostly, but the occasional meat. It's not like there's no meat. It's just not the focus. But it's all good, hearty food. especially because it's starting to get cold. But
really
it's
want
much
to do.
warmer here than it was for you. It's just autumn, so it's colder here for them.
A fun little detail: when we go to stable our horses, you will see mine just kind of like blow away into dust.
Is your
You
horse
do that,
okay?
and like the stable hand is just like an old elf who's just like,
He said he didn't want to spend the night with these horses, so
But
Of course
gone.
not.
what?
I don't offer any more information.
yeah, no, exactly. That's it.
Staring like, wait,
Ask
what
us.
just happened?
I'm not going to.
No questions.
This is something where, like, 6 months ago I would have had something to say, but by this point we've seen so much. Like,
Eric is more confused by the fact that the guy who just accepted it was like, yeah, okay. Like,
The stable hand refills his pipe weed.
This dude is probably just as has seen just as much shit as we have. Like the amount of things that pass through Aradia. I mean, there was an undead dwarf passing through here at some point. He's probably seen that guy. This is out of character, by the way.
I mean, it's one of those things, just for the context of weird shit. If any of you ask about the murals, when Barut asked about the mural, it's like, oh, well, that happened. That's not like just art. A fae came and a representative of, and it's one of those things like they check around. It's like a representative of the Archfey Jester came and started marrying all the young lovers in the town. It was a beautiful night of love and celebration, and they renamed the tavern, and they had this carved up on the evening itself, and stuff like that.
the tavern called before?
They're like, we don't talk about that.
Why
Okay.
not?
We don't
That's a little weird.
talk about that. It's disrespectful.
To
Huh.
who?
To the
Imagine
Archfey Jester, don't-
if you knew someone who went by a name, they had a great change in their life, that changed their perspective and changed their world. They went by a new name, and you refer to them by their last name. Would that not be disrespectful?
Yeah, but this is a bar. And not a bar.
Now, a building like this just has much personality.
Well,
As any of you.
you're right, but I don't know any people made out of timber that are 3 stories tall.
You might be surprised. And
Actually,
throw
yeah.
to just show the tree
Elk,
shield.
yeah.
Yeah.
They exist.
I don't.
Put the
I don't
shield on.
currently know anyone made of timber. But I understand the point. I'm not an idiot. I get it. But
All right.
Still seems like
So, when you rest up, elven taverns aren't completely designed for humans. They don't really have beds. They have these comfortable throws that you can lay upon and all that sort of thing. But it's a very comfortable night and nice and warm from the cold. With your time in the city, eventually you're going to need to go to the docks and charter a ship. But what is it that you want to do, starting with Barut, who has things he wants to do?
Yeah. So, the woman of my dreams who left me at the docks of Palmora as I left on the ship.
Are you telling this to us, or
No.
is it exposition?
It's just
Well, I mean-
exposition.
I want to go see her family.
So this is actually questions for you. Would
Yes.
she be from a higher class family or a...
Yeah, she was a higher class man. Like, her family educated her very well. She's a historian as well. She traveled to Zalstella to learn about Zalstella while I was leaving, basically, to learn about Jarviskjir.
Yes, I know that bit. I
Yeah.
just don't recall her family being mentioned before. This is what I was asking. This is one of those things we don't really need to horrendously roleplay, but you go and you check in on them. Do they know you? Have you been here before?
I have. Yeah. I stopped in when I first came through the Elven Lands, and I came through with a letter from her. I delivered that letter by hand, informing them that she arrived safely. And essentially, like, she wrote the letter. I have no idea what it said. I got the gist
exactly.
of it, but, like, you know. But yeah, they know me. I've stopped by once,
Yeah,
and then I was
a while
saying,
ago.
well, I'm traveling through, but you know.
Yeah, they'll be happy to see you again. It's quite a young family. I mean, your friend was quite young as well. So it's not like they faded and don't remember you, which is something that might happen if they were a couple hundred years older. But you have a very pleasant sort of lunch with them where they would tell you the letters that they've got, and she's not sent very many because it's incredibly hard to send a letter from Zalstella to Jarviskjir without the aid of magic, which you don't have in that kind of disposal. So there's been like 2 letters in the X amount of years, but she seems alive and comfortable according to the letters. And considering they're elves, they aren't like worried, like, oh no, we haven't got a letter in like a year. Nah.
That's normal.
She's
time frame.
fine.
That's to be expected. It's more just like, you know.
Yeah, they will mention that, you know, they pray for her and they check with the churches if she's still around and stuff like that, which also makes sense.
Yeah, of course. And essentially, I would leave a note with them as well for when they send the next letter over, because I don't want to be intrusive with sending. As much as
that would be a bit much because it's been like
it's
been a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
You just suddenly
Oh,
pop
hi.
into their
Hey,
head.
by the way, I'm in your head now.
Yeah.
No, so I'm gonna leave a note with them that just wishes her well, essentially, and informs her of what's happened here, whether or not she may wish to continue her studies or come back, depending on the state of the world and how things continue.
It's actually very funny that you mention that sort of thing, because when you arrive, you have many more scars than when you were last here. And the
big one across my face.
Yeah, you got like the claw marks across your face that you got in Thundral. And her parents would be like, it's so brilliant that you're a champion of Arkbrike and our gods, when of course it's not the way it works.
No, you know, that's okay. I don't correct them.
No, I know, that's why I brought it up, because I knew it would be a very
polite.
polite misunderstanding. But yes, while you're doing that, what does everyone else want to do? You have this elvish city. You're close enough into the city where you're not in like the city center. Just to give you more description and not to cut you off completely. The city center you can kind of see from most parts of the city being this much more, almost like a hill with bigger buildings built up on it. So you know you're not there, you know.
So I would like to go with Barut, but not come inside and just kind of stay off to the side. And then when he is done, I will have a flask of liquor and dessert, whatever they have in this area. I actually imagine Aradia doesn't have like chocolate; they more have like baklava, which is like honey and like nuts.
I actually was totally imagining that. Also, if it was warmer, probably a form of like very simple ice cream. But yeah, like pastries.
Like yes, I have like
Sweet
dessert and I have
pastries.
liquor, just like straight liquor.
And when Burrow comes out, he'll take the liquor right away and take a swig and hand it back. Thank you.
I tell you to keep it, and I give you the dessert, and we can just walk, and I won't say anything else.
I think Ver could probably be nearby. Probably.
You guys all just scoping out what Burrow was doing, like just.
Well,
Not
like
so much
you don't have, they don't have
or-
missions to do or anything.
True,
There's like,
true.
well,
I think it would be sort of like that, but it'd be more like too awkward to join, but also just wanting to make sure everything's okay.
it's also one of those things where you can kind of explore the city knowing your friends are nearby just in case. So I imagine you're like in the surrounding block, checking out shops and markets and.
Main thing that I'm gonna look for here, given that these guys are like woodland, like I don't know, like with Barut, like he can do his thing. It's fine. I'm not gonna go there. I am just curious more than anything to see what their fletching scene is like.
Oh,
Like
there's a
because-
big fletching scene.
Oh no!
Oh.
It's one of those things I imagine you go to a market and a stall selling arrows, and you're just like clearly like, so what about them like fletching?
Yeah, because I don't know really where I'm going. I'm just kind of wandering around and just like
Being elves, they will
you guys live in the
happily
forest.
show you the elven craft and the way they make their arrows and things like that. And they actually do have enchanted arrows for sale if you would be so interested.
Oh, actually, how much and what are the enchantments of which they speak?
It's one of those things where magical enchantments straight up just a tasty +1 arrows, which is like the sharpness has been enchanted. The plumage on the back will have them cut through the air much more cleanly. That'll be 70 gold each.
Mm-hmm.
But they're less likely to break than other arrows as well. You might be able to recover them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Much more interesting arrows, such as ones that aren't necessarily enchanted. Like there's arrows that have little flasks on the end that you could fill with some kind of liquid, be it like a contact poison or an acid or oil or something. Those are also on sale. Those would be 50 gold each.
Or alcohol for making someone drunk very quickly.
Oh, we have that one alcohol actually that would be perfect for that.
That knocks people out. Yeah, if you aim for the face.
I'm just saying. That is
not
actually
even a horrible idea.
Knockout arrows.
I will buy. I'm gonna get one of each.
Just to have them.
Yeah, which is all I can really afford.
Yeah, I know you guys aren't huge money, so it's one of those things. He's not necessarily expecting to sell them to you. He's just happy that you're interested. You know?
I will buy one of each.
Especially that you're a human going around actually speaking Elvish. It's not great Elvish, but they appreciate it.
They're not as snooty about it as the high elves were.
No, if you speak your Pidgin Elvish to high elves, they're like, oh yeah, well, they will happily engage.
Yeah,
They just reply in common.
Well, that's what high elves do.
Yeah.
yeah. I would definitely be speaking Elvish while we're here, just mostly because I'm not assuming everyone speaks common, even though most of them probably do, I guess. But
yeah,
I'll buy the 2 arrows from the guy and be like, well, thanks for taking the time to show me how you make arrows. I'm sure whatever I hunt with these will be sorry for your craftsmanship.
Sounds so enthused. What's next for the squad?
Most monotone.
Yeah.
I just imagine like that's got to be how Tobias speaks in Elvish too. Just,
yeah, no,
like,
I think that's
Exactly.
I love it.
Friggin'
Especially
Marvin
because
makes
Elvish
it-
is a very emotional, poetic language. A human speaking it is just doesn't seems a little dead.
We should
no
charter.
grasp of it whatsoever.
Like I don't have anything else to do in town here. I just needed to do that.
Yeah.
I think we should charter a ship.
I mean, I spent all my money.
You're in a
Sure.
bit of a rush, so it's not like, oh, let's spend a bit of time here shopping for whatever, you know. You
There's
might
a
as
reason
well.
Barry isn't stealing right now.
Yeah,
It's-
you don't have
there's no
time.
risk of slowing stuff down.
So you head to the docks, I imagine.
It's an elven city. He's resisting. Give him props.
You head to the docks of Aradia. They are much more busy, as you would expect. They actually remind you a little bit of Slate Cove in just... Well, it's just a dock, you know? No matter what race or culture you are, they're fucking similar. Even elves who take a long time... No, this ship needs to leave by tomorrow. I need to get everything off it. They're moving much more... Like, it's just much more... something that you guys understand. Fishing boats going to and fro, but also a lot more large trade ships that you saw less of in Slate Cove, but still occasionally. There's all sorts of people around this dock district and buildings that crop up around it, such as people who can repair the boats and the buildings representing trade companies and things like that. And I imagine you're going to start going around until it gets too dark, but the lighthouse is a lamp. Trying to find a ship that you can get you to Estana.
Yeah.
Ideally, a fast.
So, can someone persuasion or investigation, and you can all do it unless you want to give someone advantage each.
Actually,
That's
what is
fair.
your persuasion element?
I have a +5.
I have a +4 to persuasion as well, so it might be better for us to hedge our bets. It doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
But...
Do we
Damn.
want to go? Do we want to break off into teams and look 2 different
Two
ways? That way-
teams, yeah, that's kind of what I was imagining, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Vieric will go.
No.
I don't know.
We got this. No, we're good.
Look, team investigation, team persuasion. It's actually not unreasonable.
I'm
That
bad
actually
at
doesn't make
both,
sense.
But
Oh, yeah, but Vieric is okay at investigation.
Exactly.
Well, Beric and Baru aren't allowed to be on teams together anymore.
That's true. Bias is with me.
I'm actually better at perception now, so.
Yeah, fair enough.
I dragged the drow along with me.
Yep.
All right, give me your
Alright.
rolls.
So do you want
So
one?
Do
or the
just
other?
whoever's doing it with advantage.
That works.
Yeah, that does work.
Yeah, go with hers.
So it's Aeonor where you go and you start asking around, and Aeonor's Elvish is a little better than Tobias's because she actually has a spiritual connection. Not that Tobias doesn't, but she's a little more in tune with it. So she actually is a little more natural when she speaks in Elvish. And also, being clearly a warrior, a lot of the folk around here like just clearly respect her. And people were less weirded out by Virik. So people are like, oh, what's with the mask? And you're like, it's like, oh, I get it. No, we get it. It's a guy walking around with like a cloak and a mask isn't that weird in a city that is as artsy as this. However, dogs have a little less of that. Well, there's definitely buskers. A lot of buskers.
You're just a hipster, Virik. That's all.
Yeah.
A hipster here. Yeah, exactly. The best
I love it.
disguise.
Virik loves this place.
You hear of a ship. The person doesn't remember the name. That is an independent little cargo vessel whose crew, aside from its captain, left her at dock. And so doesn't have a crew right now. And it's a small ship. So would probably be willing to help you get to Estana if you just help out on the ship. And she, apparently, it's a ship that basically goes to and fro Estana and occasionally other small islands that are not usually of merit, you know? So you would be pointed in that direction.
Alright.
When you go and
Sounds
see,
promising.
and you go to that ship, it's not as grand as huge Elvish galleons that may be docked here and stuff. It's just a simple, well-made ship. If you imagine, I often describe these nearly one-man ships that have room for like cargo and stuff. It's a little bigger than that. It's a bit of a longer ship that is very much designed for cargo. And if it was just a one-person ship, she would not still be here. But she is not like on the ship trying to do anything. Right now, she is clearly fixing some of the mechanics of, the pulleys and the rigging. Just sort of like trying to hammer them back together. The captain, when you see her, she is a human, though quite clearly a southerner, not someone from the north. Skin is pretty sunburnt. A couple of scars, actually quite a nasty scar, like that goes across her cheek. Clearly has seen a lot of battle, and she's in her 40s or so. So quite clearly an experienced warrior with a tattoo on her neck that Barut might recognize, but I don't think Aeonor would. But various other tattoos that are just common of a southerner who's sort of a knight or a mercenary or something, that sort of thing. When you come up and she clearly notices that you like stop.
Yeah.
Like you're not like continuing. There's like more ships over along the way, and she looks up with these kind of little dull brown eyes, and she looks up and is like, yeah.
I heard you might be in need of a crew, and I have people in need of passage.
I am. Yeah, my last crew. Well, they said they were out of the mercenary life, but as soon as war started calling, they went on search of grander gold than sending spices and rum to the gnomes.
There are 4 of us. We are all skilled adventurers. One of us is decent on a ship.
She doesn't stand up, but she clearly like looks at, because
The rest of us can hold our own.
Yeah, Virik doesn't look super impressive. Like I said, he looks like a hipster. You're wearing big armor, big sword. You do look impressive.
Yeah.
If I see her looking up and down, I will say, I'm good at looking at night. I can keep a lookout at nighttime.
He's quick.
That too.
Quick's useful. Seeing in the night's even more useful. Crew of humans in elven waters, usually we don't see as much as them. Yeah, I have cargo on this ship that needs to get to Estana. It's just burning a hole in my pocket right now. If you're more than willing to work, you guys would be doing just as much work to get you there than I would. So why don't you get your friends and well, I'll show you about.
I'll kind of like give like a nod to Varric. So run off.
Okay. Away I go.
Varric, give me a perception check.
I'm no longer terrible at perception.
You don't knock anyone over. You don't run into anyone. You're going like across the main thoroughfare of a docks. There's a lot of people. There's boxes. There's winches and things.
Realistically, I would be going full speed.
Exactly, right? That's why I wanted to check, because you go really fast, but you're not the Flash. You don't see super fast.
No. Yeah.
You go and get them. This season wouldn't even be that long since you split up and you come back to see them.
We probably gave up and went to a tavern by the docks.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
Look, you see Varric run past.
And it's the
back.
best way to meet sailors.
yeah.
You're like playing cards.
Yeah, just with each other,
ship.
though. Not like with anybody else. We're just playing a 2-person game of cards with each other. Drinking at a table.
Finally got rid of mom and kid.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, now the adults get to play solitaire, bitch.
we found a ship.
Oh, good. Good.
We're gonna have to work as part of the crew, though.
Well, that's fine. I can navigate.
I'll suggest that you keep lookout, or I.
Yeah. Look out so I don't have to worry about walking on the deck much.
You'll be fine. Don't worry. Just
We'll see.
stay away from the edges, except for when you
Oh, yes.
with the sails, because you're fast, so they're going to have you do that.
Oh, no.
When you
They're
get to the
also
ship,
probably going to help you do with pretty much all of the rigging. You might have
You
to
might
patch
actually-
holes.
It might actually be better with the sails because he's got stuff to hold on to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
compared to the
Getting-
deck where he's like,
the riggings, that's the issue.
When you get to the
Yeah.
ship, you can see the ship, the name written on it is called the Late Retirement. Barut, you can give
like
me a
Same.
religion check. Yeah, I mean, all of you are smart enough to figure out she's a retired mercenary or soldier or something similar. She does have like a mace on her hip, but she's not wearing armor or anything like that. You don't recognize any of the tattoos. And she will kind of look over a lot and like, oh, all right. Yeah, no, if you're more than willing to work hard, sailing's not easy, and looks like you lot don't necessarily have your sea legs, but no, I need to get off this dock. I've been here far too long.
I've sailed before. I can navigate.
That's good. That's good. That's good. All right, let me show you aboard, and she'll do a quick tour of the ship. It's mostly cargo space. She has a bit of captain's quarters. You guys will be sleeping together in one room below deck, but it's more than pleasant. You have enough room to stretch your legs or anything. It's not going to be that rough of a time, hopefully. Although, of course, when Varric gets on a ship this big and it's already swaying with the water and like,
yep, nope.
um,
He immediately just grabs a hold of something and is like acting like nothing's wrong as he's holding on to something.
You're still swaying.
exactly.
That's not how boats work. Bruin is probably gonna come over to you and just pat you on the shoulder and say, "You'll get used to it. Don't worry."
She will straight up just say, like, first time on a boat. Sorry, shit.
Well, second technically, but first time wasn't. I was kind of huddled down low.
First time doesn't count.
Okay. Well, my name's Laren Orvice. I'm we're gonna be on sea for a while, so we're probably gonna get to know each other. So if there's any sort of dark secrets, if any of you are gonna start summoning demons on my ship or snoring really loud, I tell me now.
Elves don't sleep.
Yeah, Yeah, I've been told that.
Hmm.
Kind of
They're
weird.
writing a book about it. Regardless, you should note I am a cleric. Should anyone need healing throughout the journey, I can hopefully provide that. Assuming it's not me. Apart from that,
You have healing magic.
gonna-
That's actually really useful.
I'm gonna angle myself away from like the dock, so it's just like. In other words, I'm facing out to sea with her.
Yeah,
and
I get you.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, there's this, and I'm gonna take off the mask. Hence why I can see in the dark.
She is like shocked for a moment, but then kind of like nods a little bit, and is like, "Okay, well."
I'm used to solid ground and caves, so.
he's good folk. Can't speak for the rest of his people, but he is good folk.
Oh no, the rest of my people are terrible people.
I fought side by side with elves, dwarves, dragonkin. I can handle one of the what's your called?
Drow.
Really? What if it would have
Yeah,
been
aside
something
from
more
Dark Elves
scary?
is another one.
Drow. That's not a very scary word.
Well,
Maybe
you know,
it sounds
some of them aren't
better
that
in
scary.
Elvish. I don't know.
Some of them aren't that scary. There's a lot of really pompous ones. So
Just
elves.
like regular elves, then.
Yeah, actually.
All right.
I'm gonna put the mask back on.
Well, I think I can make this work. I'm gonna be yelling at you. You're gonna need to work hard, but most of the way to Estana is easy waters. If we take the long way, it's less profitable, but seas aren't always all that nice. So
Give me the first night, and I can tell you which path might be fine to take. I'm very good at reading the stars.
And I've already said it before, but I think I'm gonna like you being on this ship. All right. Well, if you need anything on the mainland, we're fully stocked. Unless you have a particular, alcohol of want you want on the ship, I recommend it. Gets pretty boring out here, but
I'm gonna go buy some wine. How about if I go like
it's two gold a bottle of wine.
I'm
Regular
gonna buy
gold.
3 bottles at least. I already have wine as well, so this is just adding to my pile.
Yeah, well, you're going to be on a ship for a while, like probably a month or two at least.
We already bought the cheese and the coffee. We're in a
Where
good
are my
place.
bottles of wine?
Yeah. To be fair, that's great.
And tea. I have
one
tea.
concern I
You
have
actually have a lot of stuff. So I imagine you spend like a little bit of time getting ready. Laren will casually sort of chat with you, Barut. But nothing of massive consequence. She seems pleasant enough, although just a little gruff.
Of the tattoos, I know you said I don't recognize any of them, but do I not recognize any of them? As in, do any of them stand out as things that I definitely would not know what that is, and would I ask?
No. To you, you would actually put this together instead of them. You'd be able to tell that she's from Northenden, and these seem pretty appropriate. There's a little bit of dwarven text like around one arm, and she's like her arms are in show,
Yeah.
nice and muscular and stuff, and similar things like that, sort of things Soldiers of Fortune often have. Nothing is like so strange that like you're like, whoa,
Right.
Nah,
Okay.
just things you wouldn't recognize.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'd
but
probably
seem to
still-
belong on her,
Yeah, I'd probably still ask her if she has stories behind the tattoos, just because now, like, I'm learning about the culture of the North with the tattoos, and I didn't really necessarily notice.
She
it the first
actually
time.
would, like, if you're spending, because you actually spent quite a lot of time in the day, so it's like, so spend the night, let's get ready to leave in the morning, which is usually a common practice. Sit on the dock, have a bit of, sit on the deck, have a bit of drinks with everyone. She'll actually straight up start explaining, like, pretty much most of the tattoos represent a fallen comrade when she worked as a mercenary. Just checking anything. She'll say that the one on her neck, which is kind of like a ring and kind of looks like it has talons coming off of it, is for the Arovigan, her god, king of dragons. But then is like, but I'm not like a nut or anything. But yeah, she's actually got a lot of stories to tell. Most of them are about how these people died beside her. It seems like she's quite unlucky. But unlucky in the way that bad things seems to happen, but they never seem to happen. They happen around her, and that she always seems to get away from them.
And she'll fit right in with our group.
Yeah, and she's a little. She's happy to tell the stories, but clearly is occasionally like a little bummed out by it. But it's like, you've met mercenaries before, and you guys are of similar ilk. You know, you want to tell these tales.
Right, and I would be sharing some of our stories as well, in accurate detail, not.
What stories would you tell her? That's more important.
I would tell her about my fallen kin, my fallen comrade. To note my most recent tattoo. I wouldn't necessarily show it because it's on my chest, and that's a bit of a pain in the butt to do. But you know, I'd
Pain in
note.
the chest.
What was that?
No, nothing. Keep going.
Yeah, nothing. Okay, yeah, sure.
You're fired.
So, anyways, I'd tell her about the story with the Borovar, that whole challenge and everything. I'd tell her about. I think I'd tell her about maybe the trip towards Bastillion. I feel like that one would be an interesting
She'd be pretty impressed by that because she's never met anyone who's been there. And so she would genuinely ask about it in quite a lot of interest.
Yeah.
Just because she doesn't... It's just like, hey, what's it like in Detroit? You know, like, I don't know what that city's like.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what Detroit's like.
It's fine.
Do you, do you talk about the Banshee?
You know, yeah, probably, but I'd probably...
Because that's the one
not-
where it's like, shit, you fought ghosts?
Yeah. In this case, restless spirit would be the better term, and we fought it once, succeeded in fighting it, and then it came back, so we put it to rest properly, more peacefully.
Yeah.
It's not all the fight, but the fight is there.
Still, fight, exorcism, that's still impressive, I guess. I don't know how easy it is to excise a ghost, but it sounds impressive anyway. I'm impressed.
It was a pain in the butt.
In the face.
Oh, yeah, this is from Banshee. Motioning to the massive claw scars across my face.
This was from a dragon.
Ah!
Oh.
Yeah, this red dragon attacked Northern a while ago, and our troop was nearby, so we helped the guard, and it just kind of barely swiped me, but big scar. Not a very gloriful battle. We didn't defeat it. We just it wasn't really bothered by us.
Dragons are something else entirely.
Yeah, I would never want to be in the room with a dragon again, or lair or whatever. I mean, I don't mean dragonborn.
No,
lovely
no,
people.
I know what you mean.
But an
Oh, we murdered a dragonborn.
Not because he was a dragonborn.
No,
though.
that's not.
He
No, he was an
ignited
asshole.
2 innocents on fire, so
He burned 2 people alive in front of us. Regardless. Wow. Well, great.
Look, some ships are all full of singing and dancing and merriment, but that's not what the sea really is. A lot of people die in these waters. A lot of people get pillaged in these waters. A lot of people get sold into lives that they don't belong to. I'm not going to pretend that everything in the world's hunky-dory, because it ain't, but, we make do. And honestly, I'm glad that you're a realist like me.
The world
Also-
isn't really made for unrealistic people at this point.
Something I would also like to point out on this journey, maybe like just a couple times a day, I'm going to take a minute to use my primeval senses to see if there are any monstrosities within a few miles around us.
It's one of those things you actually do sense it, but it's mostly things that would be in like the waters around the dock, but not big, you know, just smallish beasties that would be considered monstrosities to your senses, you know.
Yeah,
She's not one.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's a
I'm
promising
mostly just
step.
paranoid of anything quite large. Once we hit the open water.
Once you hit the open water, that's a different thing.
I think
Yeah.
Virik would actually be having his meditation schedule be he would meditate in the middle, right in the middle of the day, so then he can be awake all night on deck.
That's a good idea. That's actually one of the things that she would suggest to you. I was going to describe that when you actually leave. But
okay.
because you're not, because you can see in the dark, you'd be like, you are basically the ship's night shift. She isn't going to sleep an awful lot. But when she does, she'll probably have Aelnor take the helm, and you do whatever. But yeah,
I'm going to be meditating kind of near the end of the day. I'm also going to be kind of over the night because I need to watch.
see the stars.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, when you start leaving, to those who haven't been on a ship before, let alone worked on a ship before, it's a little intense. She's yelling at you to do things, and then she or Barut has to explain what those things actually are. No, that thing over there. Tie that to that, and pull that, like all those sort of things. It's the first couple of hours, especially when leaving the docks, which is one of the hardest parts, is very intense.
If they like say that, know that, Virik is going to start saying, "You mean this or this?" and like just do illusion this or this right in front of them.
She just jumps and is like, "Can you stop conjuring on my ship?"
Sorry.
But yeah, you'll somehow make it out of the docks, and then you'll start sailing, and that's actually a brilliant place for us to take another break for the last hour of the show. So we'll be back in a bit. See you later.